Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this is the Metro Backpack Pro 24 liter by Alpaka Gear, the Hong Kong based manufacturer of a wide variety of bags, slings, and other EDC accessories. Now, as the name Metro Backpack Pro might suggest, this is a larger follow up to the smaller 12-liter Metro backpack that was released a while back, and it's perhaps aimed more a little bit at the so called pro audience, here mainly manifested through slightly more compartments and slightly higher organization. So, speaking of that, its main claim to fame is that it is a relatively compact and well structured EDC backpack with a higher than average degree of organization, and I'll get into all of that here in a little bit, made with solid high tech materials, especially if you opt for the X-Pack version, that feels and moves lighter than it actually is. It also features a gimmick in terms of its compatibility with Alpaka's so called hub system, and that's what you see back here. Although I think that in reality this is a little bit limited in practical utility, especially as implemented within this backpack, so I think of it as more of a gimmick than necessarily a claim to fame. Now, some areas for improvement on this bag include a very aggressive rain flap that always gets snagged inside of the main zipper track, though mercifully it is easy to unsnag. A lack of a conventional quick access pocket. There is this little side pocket here on the back, but it's not quite a quick access pocket. And relatively thin shoulder straps that limit the amount of weight that can be carried comfortably inside of this bag. Now, it is only available in a 24-liter size, and it retails from anywhere from 168 to 229 US dollars, depending on whether you choose their Aeroflux nylon variant or this X-Pack body fabric. And that's actually a surprisingly high upcharge for a fabric change. Usually you look at something around like a $30 difference between like a nylon and X-Pack fabric. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. Now, at the time of recording, this bag is available in either olive green or black, and it can be purchased at alpakagear.com. This particular variant is the X-Pack black variant, and I've been using it for a couple of months at this point. As usual, all products are purchased with my own money, and all opinions are my own. So next, let's talk about who this bag is for and who it's not for. In terms of who it's for, as you can see, this is a pretty compact bag, but it actually has a lot of organization and capacity for its size. And I think that makes it a really good bag for urban commuters and students with small to medium loadouts. I'll get into all of this here in a minute. It looks good in an urban setting, though obviously fashion is in the eye of the beholder. Has decent organization, including a separate laptop compartment and a tablet area. It is pretty compact, and while it's not technically super lightweight, I found it's quite light on the back, and it's very easy to maneuver inside of crowded urban environments, trains, what have you. I think this is also a good bag as a small day bag for two-bag travel, especially if you've got a rolling luggage with you as your main bag. It has a very easy to deploy luggage pass-through. It's compact and easily fits under a seat in front of you or in a passenger seat wheel or whatever. And it's small enough and stays out of the way, and will probably qualify as a personal item in just about any airplane or air flight out there. Now, in terms of who it's not for, so this is definitely not going to be the right bag for those of you which have larger, bulkier loads. So if you're a gym rat or you're got like a lot of like equipment, I know it is a pro pack, but if you got a lot of equipment, and we'll get into what you can carry in this, like this is not going to be the best bag for it. It is nominally 24 liters, but it's on the smaller side of 24 liters. And in reality, I feel it's maybe closer to 21 liters, something like that. The shoulder straps also have their limits. So I do like them. They're kind of thin, so there's going to be a limit to what you can carry inside of this bag. And you're not going to be able to fit a bunch of things like shoes and gym clothes and stuff inside of this. This is also maybe not the best bag for one bag travelers, or for people looking for like a bag that could do like a weekend trip or like a one night business trip. You can do it in here just like you could with any bag if you have a tightly dialed kit and you're a professional one bag traveler. But honestly, there's going to be a lot of other bags that are going to be better for that, especially if you anticipate like doing that quite often. So next, let's talk about the materials and external design of this bag. Now, one of the first things that strikes me about this bag, and one of the things that I like the most about this bag, is that due to the combination of its design, which, like, for example, this double layered rain flap that kind of runs the whole width of the whole kind of perimeter of the bag here, and at least on the X-Pack variant, the stiffness of the materials, which has a little bit of inherent structure to it, and just sort of like the patterning and like this inverted kind of panel loading style and whatnot. Like, this bag has a very defined sense of structure and shape, regardless of whether it's empty or loaded out. And right now I have it loaded out a little bit, like with how I usually, carry stuff inside of here. I showed you previously the main compartment. You can see I have a bunch of stuff inside of here and also inside of this laptop compartment here. But Even when it's empty, the bag retains its shape very well. And it does this without the use of heavy padded sidewalls. There's not really much or any sidewall padding on here. It's just relying on the shaping and the fabric weight. And it doesn't have a lot of superfluous structural elements like you see on some bags. It's, really thick, boxy, shaping pieces and stuff like that. I like bags and objects that have definite structures and opinions about their shape and their use and their design, especially when it does so in a lightweight manner. So this bag is kind of up my alley. Now, as I mentioned, this bag is nominally rated at 24 liters, but in reality, it visually prints and it feels and actually is, I think, like a smaller bag, somewhere around the 21 liter mark. Now, it weighs 1,300 grams for the X-Pack variant, which actually isn't that light. For comparison, the base nylon Evergoods Civic Panel Loader 24 is only 1,400 grams. That's a much larger capacity and this nylon variant. But I do have to admit that even though it is 1,300 grams, it feels just much more lightweight and small and kind of agile and nimble. I don't know how to explain it, but that's definitely the feeling I felt when I used this bag. It is a very compact bag that doesn't feel as heavy as its spec sheet seems to suggest. Now, overall, the handling and the hefting of this bag makes you feel like you're interacting with a very well, crisply defined three-dimensional object. Again, though, it does it without all that like heavy. It's not a heavy box. And I like that. And it means that it can also stand up on its own. You see me just sort of like lean it up against its own. It does lean forward a little bit, but even when not fully loaded out, it tends to do a good job of standing up on its own. And also like it tends to do pretty well when leaning against a chair or whatever. A lot of bags will just slide down or they'll spend their life on their face. This bag tends to do pretty well standing on its own, leaning against a chair or whatever, which I like. It's very convenient. Now, the materials are solid, starting with this body fabric on the X-Pack variant. That's X-Pack, which in my opinion is the way to go with this bag. But there's also an Aeroflux 600D, I think nylon variant, that's also sufficiently robust. And later on at the end, when I show you some other bags to consider, I'll show you the Elements backpack, which I have in the Aeroflux variant. And then it also continues on with like nice touches like these Hypalon zipper pulls, coated zippers, metal slider buckles, and then, not Fidlock, but maglocks with a Z, I guess, sternum strap and stuff like that. The seams on the bag are not taped, but due to the materials, X-Pack is inherently heavily water resistant, and this really aggressive rain flap that covers the main, non-coated zipper here. This bag tends to have a higher than usual, I would say, water resistance, though of course like under sustained heavy rain it will still get soaked there. Like the material and the structure of this bag come together in a kind of coherent design that for me feels modern and urban and kind of high tech. I appreciate how Alpaka Gear, and I've been following them for a while, I've had their stuff for a long time, though this is the first time I'm reviewing their stuff on this channel here. I appreciate how they've evolved their design language over the years in a way that's starting to allow their bags to become more recognizable from a distance, in the same way as like you can recognize an Evergoods bag or an Air bag or oftentimes a Bellroy bag from a distance. So I kind of like that about this bag. The only minor note of consideration I would add regarding the materials is that it does feel pretty like artificial. I mean, it's X-Pack, so like that applies to any X-Pack bag, but I just think the whole combination of all the materials on this bag, there's nothing really organic on it. It's maybe a turn off for some people. Like I don't mind it, but it feels very much like a synthetic bag. High quality, but synthetic bag. And over time, obviously, X-Pack material will lose some of its rigidity. You'll get like this, the cross-ply layer will become more prominent as the wear goes on, etc. But I don't expect that the overall structural nature of the bag will be too greatly impacted because of how, again, like they kind of do some of the patterning on this. I think it's quite clever. And finally, the last thing I'll say about the design and overall materials and all that is, by its nature, this X-Pack fabric does not stretch, and this design does not have a lot of internal gusseting or anything like that, so it doesn't handle overpacking well. So you have to really live within the constraints of this, as I mentioned, relatively compact, even though it's rated 24 liter bag. So that's maybe the only thing to consider in terms of the overall design and structure of the bag. So next, let's talk about the front pocket on the bag. I'm going to lay it on its back here, and you can see it's a single front admin compartment, kind of like an organizer admin section. It's largely unchanged from the non-pro variant of this bag. It accesses via a single one-way coated zipper that you can see, even though it is coated, works pretty well. operates very smoothly with one hand due to kind of some of the rigidity and along the way that they've kind of patterned and doubled over and sewn, and they've got like a little bit of a rigid plastic strip here, which I really like. There's this plastic strip that's sewn along it. The zipper that adds some stiffness and makes it really smooth and easy to operate. Great stuff on there. The compartment has, as you can see even here, its own kind of independent dimension. You can see like there's a little bit of like, this little, shaping in here. And that means that beyond the internal organization, which I'll talk about in a second, you can also just throw stuff into this front admin pocket area here. It features in the inside this bright reflective orange contrast lining, which makes it really easy for you to see what you have inside, and that's carried out throughout the rest of the bag. Now, in terms of the actual one, so I just have here a notebook thrown into the main compartment, and then also like some hand lotion, because it's winter here, so you gotta make sure you stay moisturized and whatnot. And you could obviously fit other stuff inside of here if you needed to. Like I said, it does have, not like super bulky stuff, but you can fit like, some things of moderate volume inside of there. So then beyond that, opening it up, you're looking at it. This is the top of the bag. This is the bottom of the bag. There are two large compartments, two large pockets here. Let me move this here. One and two here, and then two pen pockets here. Now these pockets, I'm going to now flip it up so you can see a little bit. You're now looking into the compartment. They're oriented horizontally, and they're not stretched. They're just made of the same kind of orange reflective contrast lining with a kind of black nylon kind of piping at the top here for a little bit of extra rigidity. But they have a sufficient amount of friction that most things tend to be retained well, even though the pockets are oriented horizontally, even though they're not using elastic mesh. Access to the top pocket is really easy. I tend to put my phone inside of here because there is no quick access pocket on this bag, as I mentioned, but it'll also fit something like here's like a field notes with a pen inside of a Bellroy note taker, and that'll easily fit inside of here as well. And obviously there's pen pockets here, so that's a natural place for it. You could obviously fit both of those things in there if you really wanted to as well. And then, as I mentioned, you could throw this inside of there. Taking this out for a second, you then see these two pen pockets here. Very straightforward, have a tactile turn pen and then a highlighter inside of there. And then at the bottom, you have another pocket that's identical to this internal top horizontal pocket here. Inside of here, I'm going to flip the bag down here a little bit. Access is a little bit harder because the bottom lip of the zipper, or the zipper track, kind of covers a little bit of the access into this pocket. You can still get things in and out of there, but there is a lot going on here. There's also a key leash, which I'll talk about in a second. So I found this one a little bit harder to get stuff out of. So I tended to put things that I want to access less frequently in there. So I have like a mask inside of there, some alcohol wipes, sanitizing wipes, ID for the gym, and then my gym headphones, these Beats Beats buds or whatever they are. And like I said, it's a little bit fussier to get to this bottom one just because of all what's going on there, but still overall very easy, I think, in terms of like how they help organize this whole front area while still giving you capacity to throw bigger things inside of there here. The last thing to mention is this key leash here, which is attached inside of there. And I like this key leash a lot. Like, first of all, it's got a really good length. So a lot of bags sometimes they'll do a key leash, it's too short. This one is of a good length, and it's at the bottom of the pocket. So what that means is you can have this bag slung over your shoulder, and you have enough length, operating length, usually to be able to get to, the door without having to take the bag off of your back. It also has an integrated magnetic key clip here. This is actually they call it their mod magnetic keychain, which is curiously not compatible with the hub system that's featured inside of the main compartment here, but we'll talk about that. There are separate hub compatible magnetic keychains or whatever, but this one anyway. Very easy to take on and off, and obviously you can attach your keys into this loop as you need. It's not elastic, but as I mentioned, I think it's still quite usable. And I like that they put effort into this keychain and thought into it, unlike some companies, like unfortunately Bellroy these days, like they basically treat like a keychain like a thing to tick off a box and like the lowest common possible denominator. Obviously Alpaka gear is still putting some thought and effort into that, so good stuff there. So next, let's talk about the main compartment of the bag. I'm going to lay the bag down here for a second so you can see me get into it. Now, the first thing to talk about is access here. And access is via a two-way. There's two little zipper pulls here. I think it's number 10 YKK racket coil zipper here. The actual opening style is a bit unusual actually, in that it's like a inverted panel loader. What do I mean by that? So you can see there's this slope here, this triangular slope. And usually, not usually, but in many panel loaders that I've seen, the, how can I say, like, this is the panel part here, right? This is the panel section. The fat part of the panel is at the top, and then the narrower part of the panel is at the bottom, because that provides for like a easier fulcrum, I guess, maybe. I don't know if that's in all panel loaders, it's just in a lot of the ones that I've seen. With this one, it does give it a very distinct and I think kind of sleek appearance. And I do think it probably helps a little bit with the rain resistance, because you do have this nice overhang, especially with this rain flap here. But it, I think, has the maybe side effect that I found of making the main compartment a little bit more frictionful to open, because you're trying to like kind of hinge like the whole bulk. You can see it's a very fat part of the panel that's trying to bend here, versus the thinner part that, you know, would bend in a different one. So we could contrast that to something like perhaps the Evergood's Panel Loader 20 or PLC 20, Panel Loader Classic 20, where you can see it's the other way around. The fatter part of the panel, a little hard to see, the fatter part of the panel is up here at the top, and it's a little bit thinner at the bottom. So that means it's easier for it to hinge open. It flops open quite easily. Like, it's a very nice and easy, like full access inside of here. Contrast that to what Alpaka gear has. You can see it doesn't like, it's bending here actually, because it just can't bend here. It doesn't go down any further. Not the end of the world. I'll talk about this more here in a second, but still something I wanted to kind of call out about this. What that means is, like, you tend to access the main compartment by more or less cracking it open, and it just doesn't go any further than this, which is okay, because you're looking down at the bag. You know, you kind of look down into it a little bit, or kind of into it from the side, but the bag will crack open like this and not go further. And so that's just sort of like, you know, an inverted half panel loader style. It's quite unusual here. The other thing to talk about access on this bag is, as I mentioned, number 10, racket coil, non-coated zipper. So the zipper itself is quite smooth, but it does have a very aggressive rain flap. And I did find that sometimes going around the corners, it would get caught on the rain flap. Not always, but it did happen. It does happen enough, especially like if you get it tucked in like this, like especially if you got putting some weight or something like on it, and then you try and bring it up here, it'll kind of get caught on the zipper track, or the rain flap will get caught inside of the zipper track, etc. Now, fortunately, unlike some of the bags I've reviewed, this is such a very beefy zipper, and this is it's a very like deep, thick and flat, stiff material for the rain flap, that it's very easy to back that out when it does happen. But I just noticed that happened sometimes on this bag here. Okay, and then obviously, sorry, even though this is not a coated zipper, the aggressive rain flap does provide a high degree of kind of water egress protection about this here. Anyway, so once we open up this bag here with a two-way zipper and kind of crack it open, you find yourself interacting, like I said, kind of with this main area by kind of looking down into it from the top there. Now, the inside of the bag features a bright orange contrast lining, same as the front organizer compartment. There's a lot going on inside of here. So let me try and break it down for you. Let's start actually by looking at the inside. This is the front of the bag and the top of the bag. So kind of cracking open here, you've got the inside front panel, and that has 3 pockets on it. First, there's this kind of pretty robust stretch mesh top pocket, pretty standard there. This one is smaller than the top pocket you find on a lot of bags of this style. Usually this pocket's a little bit bigger. This is quite small, but it is a stretch mesh, but it's a very tight stretch mesh, so it's very compact, very dense, but it got everything that I carry inside of, that I usually carry in this pocket, could fit inside of here. And it's kind of well retained, but I just wanted to call it, there's a little bit smaller than some of the other competitors here. Inside of here, I have a wallet. I have like a kind of card case with some extra cash. I have a coin pouch. I have an air tag that I just throw inside of there. And then I have a set of like AirPod Pros. That's kind of it. And like I said, like it's a little bit stretchy. It's a nice robust mesh, small, but it all kind of fits in there. So you can kind of just stuff it in there. And it's just a little bit tighter than, or a little bit more compact and close together than many other bags, but still gets that all in there. Even if you had a slightly bigger wallet, you still probably be okay on this. So next, we have below that, instead of another, large pocket, which you usually would find in this kind of internal lid section, you have two slightly different, very tall, non-elastic pockets. They're made of the same contrast material as the contrast lining here, inside lining. And one of them on this side here is for a water bottle. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about like keeping internal water bottles on the inside of bags. More and more companies are designing bags like that. I personally don't like that. But sometimes if you have a very secure water bottle, there's actually a limit to how tall of a water bottle you can fit inside of here. I would say anything much larger than this, you can see it starts to interfere with this top pocket here. So that kind of fits right inside of there, and it kind of keeps it out of the way and pointed upward, which usually you want. But again, it's up to you how your risk tolerance is with internal water bottle pockets. And then inside of here, you have a flatter pocket that is not as like, this one has like some depth because it's designed to take a water bottle. This one is not, but it's flatter. Inside of here, I have a Ioneo Pocket S kind of game thing. You could fit something else, device like inside of here. You probably couldn't fit, you can't fit like a Lenovo Legion Go, maybe like a Switch Mini or something else will fit inside of there. You can also fit like a notebook or like a battery charger or something like that. So actually, let me take these out so you can see what else is going on here. And then that's it for this kind of internal front pocket. Then you can see if we flip the bag down, now you're kind of just looking into the main compartment here. This is the main area. We'll talk about this here in a second. Let me flip it up for a moment. So inside of here, I just have like Evergood's Elements pouch, toothbrush, like a electronics kit inside of an X-Pack pouch, and then like a notebook. And that's really it for what I have inside of here. This is a pretty compact bag, and as I mentioned, it doesn't stretch. It doesn't have a lot of like hidden gusseting or anything like that. So there's a limit to what you can fit inside of there. What I just showed you, I think, is a pretty appropriate size load for this kind of bag, for this bag of this size. It's not overwhelming, it's not overwhelming the bag, but it is very well packed out. There is no additional like elastic, back pocket or something like that inside of here. So anything you put inside of here is just going to have to fit into the main compartment. But because it is fairly compact and because this zipper doesn't go down all the way, you kind of get like a nice little ledge or compartment that kind of helps things, stay standing up when you put them inside of here. They don't flop around all the way. You're not going to be able to fit things like most shoes, gym clothes, gym gear. If you have like a camera, you could probably fit like one, camera in here, one lens or something like that, depending on the size of it. But it is actually not that deep of a compartment. So even though it is nominally a pro bag, like I think you have to be thoughtful about what you put inside this. So if you do have a lot of like bulky gear, you're going to want a bigger bag that has like a bigger compartment inside there. Generally, I think its visibility is quite good inside of this, and access with the caveats that I mentioned about the zipper snagging, it's also good. The one thing is, you can see because of how the bag, look at the bottom fabric here, watch this. As you open the bag up, because of how this is designed inverted panel style, and because of the high zipper line kind of point here, you get like this fold at the bottom. You can see the bottom fabric has folded there. So small things can get trapped or hidden on either side of these folds. That's the only thing I noticed. Like if you have like a pen or something like that, like it'll get hidden by this fold when you open the bag. You see the bottom of the bag kind of makes this little like two divots, something like that. Very small thing, but just wanted to kind of mention that. The other thing, to talk about inside of this main compartment is the hub system. So Alpaka Gear has what they call their hub system of accessories. And if you're not familiar, it's basically a set of like magnetic clips. This is the clip portion with like this base clippy thing here that you can attach things on and off to. And then these base clips or whatever can attach onto, like they sell like rails that you can mount on your wall, or their bags have like these kind of sewn flat pieces of webbing that are compatible with this. When I bought this bag, it came with not this pouch here, but with this base clip and then this like magnetic portion on here. I don't know if that's like a thing that they'll keep doing or if that was just a special promo they were running at that time here. So what I've done is I've attached this base clip here to the middle rail, and there's 9. You could theoretically attach 9 hub things inside here because there's like 3 rows and 3 things on each one. Don't do that because I'm going to tell you why. So you can kind of just see how this works here. The main issue, which should be immediately apparent, is that in many cases, this is kind of impractical because like the stuff just hangs. Like it just hangs in the way. And this is the highest rail. So like if you put it on the bottom rail, it's like basically hanging at the bottom there. But if you have any kind of stuff in the main compartment, which you probably do because it's a backpack, you can see it will kind of interfere with your ability to get stuff in and out of, or use that compartment, especially if you have more than a couple of things in there here. So if you see, like now, there's a lot going on in this bag now. Imagine if you had 3 of these things dangling there, like, oh my gosh. And if you have other stuff there. Now, the other thing besides kind of the dangly fussiness of it is that in order to attach something to these straps, you need to first attach the hub base clip thing here. And, you know, that's, if you want to attach 3 pouches, you need 3 base clips. That's a lot of superfluous. That's a superfluous and non-trivial increase in weight and bulk just to be able to use the system, which in and of itself is also bulky. Now, that having been said, I just attached like a pouch that I had that happened to be hub compatible. This is also an Alpaka gear pouch. They make a variety of like hub compatible accessories. I believe there's 16 or so, depending on how you count them, hub accessories available at the time of this recording here. I think most of them are pretty impractical. Most of them are some variation of dangly thing attached to clip, attached to magnet or whatever. But I do think a couple of them that might be kind of useful possibly in this bag is there's like an earbuds pouch. So I could see like you have your AirPod Pros or whatever here. You just clip them on and off. It's really easy to access them. Like a card holder. Like I have my gym, you know, ID card inside of here, but like, or like a work ID card. I can see that being really quite handy to like clip onto here and then, you know, put on your lanyard or something like that. And then like a keychain, like I mentioned, though there is a keychain in the front here. They do sell like hub compatible keychains. I think those are kind of interesting there. There is a bunch of others, but they're kind of impractical, as I said. Now, the last thing I will mention about this is I like that in general, even though like this system didn't really work well for me and my needs, I do think that it's nice that Alpaka Gear is trying to tackle a common problem with a lot of bags, which is basically how to make it, like, because we live in a planet with gravity, or at least I do, you know, everything tends to fall to the bottom. So you usually end up like this dead zone at the top third of the bag, unless it's like super well packed out. And so that's kind of a little bit, you know, unfortunate. So much like with Evergoods and how like they have like in their CTB 26, they have like a pocket up here, and then some of their other bags, they have like some straps in there, and like, you know, Mystery Ranch sometimes puts like, you know, a Molly webbing, or other kind of tactical bags have like a Velcro panel that you can like Velcro your gun or something to, or whatever. You know, this is just their take on like how they might make good use of like this dead space here. So I do appreciate that, and I like that they're trying things out there. You know, so have a look at their hub system. It wasn't for me, but maybe it will be for you. On the back, the last compartment here is this, you know, separate laptop compartment, fleece lined here, same orange reflective, you know, contrast lining, and then there is a padded laptop compartment, and then a separate flat tablet compartment in the front. Inside of here, I have one of the M4 Pro MacBook Pros. This is a 14-inch, but this will easily take a 16-inch. And I have an 11-inch iPad Pro, also an M4 for some reason. So lots of processor power going woefully unutilized. And then you can just see there's nothing really outside of here other than, you know, the main tablet compartment, main laptop compartment, tablet compartment, and then there's like space here. Let's say you're not a person who's always doing things for pleasure or for fun. Sometimes you might be like a person who like does things that are not pleasurable or fun, like, I don't know, business. And maybe in the course of that business, you might find that you need to write something down, or somebody writes something down for you on like, I don't know, papers. So if you need a place to put like those papers of business, this is a great place to put those papers of business, man, inside of this right here, and it'll stay flat. Obviously put it on in a folder, something like that. Last thing to say about this compartment here, well, second last thing, it doesn't have a false bottom, which I thought was weird. There's also not like padding on the bottom. There's a couple layers of fabric. There's no padding. So that was a little bit of an odd oversight, in my opinion. But just be careful when you know, put this bag down. Don't slam it down. And you should be Okay. This compartment is accessed via two-way YKK AquaGuard or coated zipper, which I think is nice in terms of water resistance here. So next, let's talk about the load carriage system on this bag. Load carriage consists of this top carry handle, this shoulder straps, because it's a backpack after all, back panel, and then a luggage pass-through here. The top carry handle is very low profile. It's not super visible when not in use. You can kind of see it kind of tends to blend into, especially on the black variant, I think. It consists of a simple strap, nylon strap, though there is a very thin piece of foam that's inserted in the center here that helps a little bit with the structure, maybe a little bit with like graspability, definitely with graspability and structure. It just kind of pops it off just a little bit, enough for you to slide your hand in there. Maybe a little bit with comfort. That having been said, like, you wouldn't want to carry this bag for a long time just by this handle, though it's nice and inline so it doesn't cant too much in there. I also noticed because it's pretty low profile, sometimes with like winter gloves on, I had a hard time like finding it the first time. But overall, I really like this handle for what it is, thin, low profile, and useful for just, picking up the bag and moving from place to place, even though you won't want to carry it for a long time with that. Flipping the bag around, we can see the back panel of the bag. Now this consists of a thin foam layer on the backing panel of the laptop. So there's like the laptop is here, laptop compartment is here. And then here's the laptop compartment, here's the body of the bag. And then there's like a foam layer there. And then there's these two moderately thick foam cushions on the external face, which lay against your back. There is also a little stash pocket here sandwiched between those two layers, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, there's also a little bit of a plastic frame sheet inside of here as well as part of that sandwich here. It's fairly flexible, though not like overly soft. Like it's a nice amount of flexibility without being too soft. This yields a back panel that I found to be quite supportive for the size of this bag, that is still flexible when you're wearing it, so it doesn't feel like you're wearing like a box on your bag. Now, when you load a larger laptop, like this is a 14-inch inside of here, but if you had like a 16-inch or something like that, it will carry like up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. There will be a limit to how much flex you can get out of this bag because it is going to be such a tall, firm, flat thing on there. The back panel construction is good, but it's not quite like Evergood's level of like patterning good yet. I like that the back panel isn't like overly or obnoxiously padding it. Has these two like moderate density foam. You can kind of see like moderate density foam strips that just kind of run the whole height of the bag. They're covered with a little bit of thick elastic mesh or thick mesh. It's similar to what is used on the inside front lid pocket, top pocket there. These provide like kind of center channel for like airflow sort of, but as usual, there's a limit to like how much airflow you're going to get in a bag, like any bag. And these do have a little bit of sweat absorption, obviously, since this is porous there. Now, one other thing that I liked about this back panel, besides the fact that it was kind of, for me, like a nice combination of simplicity, flexibility, but still supportive enough for a so-called pro bag that's of a smaller size here. The other thing I liked is that they have like these double at the top and the stress points, they have like this nylon reinforcement layer here. And then at the bottom, they have like this nylon reinforcement, kind of like hip butt pad area for like, instead of running these all the way to the bottom. So for that provides a little bit of extra, robustness and durability. So it shows some thought went into this bag here. The bag does have limits, even though this is a pretty good, frame sheet and load carry system. The bag does have limits to how much it can carry just because of the thinness of the straps. And because ultimately, this is not the thickest, most stiff frame sheet out there. So, it does well up until that limit. And then, if you overpack it or you're carrying bricks or something or multiple heavy textbooks, your back will feel it's going to overwhelm what it's capable of doing. Last thing on the back panel is this luggage pass-through, simple, broad, wide luggage pass-through. Works very well for a bag of this size. It doesn't have any fancy elastic or built-in gusseting or that, whatever, but it's very straightforward to deploy. Fits a wide variety of like canes and stays out of the way when you're not using it. So simple and well executed. The last part of the load carriage system are these shoulder straps. They are both simultaneously simple in their functionality, yet they also have a lot of interesting things going on in their construction, which is an unusual combination. So the first thing that strikes me, and probably should strike you, is they're actually very thin and articulate, especially at the hinge points here. Like there's padding, but it kind of like tapers away. You have like this flat part here, and then as I mentioned, they have like this nylon here, you know, that provides some space. It hinges very well. Like it moves and feels nimble on your back. Now this helps with one of the most notable interactions of the bag for me, which is like it just feels very small and compact and light, and it moves and it's great. I don't know, I like it. These belong to the school of thought of fairly low profile, very flat shoulder straps with a thin foam padding and a slightly stiffer. These don't have like a plastic interlining like some bags do to provide additional stiffness, but a slightly thicker, stiffer top layer that helps distribute the weight and helps them lay broadly and closely to your body to distribute that weight over a larger surface area without using thick padding. I tend to like shoulder straps like this, so this vibes with me, but that also means because there's just not that much padding, and because it is just they're very svelte in the end overall, it does provide like an upper limit to how much weight you can carry on a bag like this. Now the construction, as I mentioned, is kind of surprisingly complex. There's this elastic, you know, fabric on the inside face, that same as here, I think, and that's the part that sits against your body. There's also a very thin foam layer inside of there. As I mentioned, it kind of terminates here about 1 centimeter before the hinge point here. And then on top you have like this stiffer, well, the body X-Pack fabric that doesn't stretch. So that helps provide some rigidity and weight distribution across the surface here. But as the saying goes, wait, there's more. So in the parts where the shoulder strap would be up against your neck here, the elastic fabric, softer fabric and foam kind of rolls up over, so that provides a much softer, no cutting experience, edgeless kind of finish for around your neck. And then it kind of expands out here where then the sternum strap would attach here. The outside edges have like your bias or whatever kind of bias taped or nylon strapping edging are on there. Now the straps themselves are not particularly aggressively ergonomically shaped, though I did feel that they were, comfortable enough and appropriate for a bag this size. They're about average width throughout most of their length, and then at the very bottom they, narrow down to where this metal buckle attaches them to a relatively thin nylon runner strap down to the body itself. Has a built-in strap keeper for a dangle-free experience, and then built-in thumb loops for you to be able to kind of quickly, adjust the bag. They hold their position very well. Then on the surface of the bag, of the strap, you have these two, I think, Hypalon loops here, one with a very subtle Alpaka branding on there. That's for they show it for attaching a hub system where you can dangle your AirPods from here. Don't do that. But if you wanted to put like a cell phone pouch or some sort of out of the pouch on there, this is a nice place to kind of hook it in there so it doesn't fall down there. Now, longtime viewers will know that I am a card-carrying member of the sternum strap squad. I'm happy to report that there is a sternum strap here. The attachment system is a little bit non-standard. There's these sort of integrated loops along here, and then there's just like a plastic, clippy thing. But it holds its place well, doesn't fall off. It's easy to adjust, good amount of adjustment up and down. So we're competently providing a decent range of adjustments. So I guess if you're going to put the effort to innovate with a non-standard, approach to an otherwise solved problem space, this is not a bad place to end up. It's different, but it works fine. Okay. The sternum strap itself is simple. There's no elastic on it. Sometimes they have built-in elastic for extra comfort, but that's okay. It's not the biggest bag in the world, so I think it's fine. You do have an integrated strap keeper here for dangle-free experience. 1 point of adjustability, clips in the center. These are mag locks with a Z, not fid locks, but they seem to work fine. And they, hold their place, and overall a good, competent, and fully removable sternum strap if that's what you're into. And then, like I mentioned, overall, I think that this is very appropriately designed and sized for this bag. I like kind of how overall it kind of works, but just be careful not to overwhelm the load carriage capacity of this overall system just because of the thinness of these straps and the whatever. Should be pretty easy to do because this is not that big of a bag. The last thing to talk about is this secret back pocket, one-way zipper here. It's a surprisingly spacious in terms of surface area. It runs to about right here and runs from here to here. So, kind of a big flat broad area here. It's sandwiched between like the frame sheet and the back foam padding of the laptop compartment. It's kind of tight, as all pockets like this are, and as such I don't think it's like very convenient to use. Like it's okay. I mean, you can get your hand in there or whatever you put small stuff in there, it tends to fall to the bottom. Here I just have like a comb, some hand sanitizer, and like some lip chapstick or whatever. You could put like your passport, or they say your phone. I would never put my phone in here just because there's a lot of like stress or pressure on this part here. And it's also not that easy to get. I wish they had a quick access, like a proper quick access pocket at the top. The only thing I'm really missing about this bag here. But you can kind of make this thing work for that. And, you know, it is what it is. Like you could fit, like I said, broad flat items are going to be best. So maybe a passport, maybe a notebook, or some, you know, money or whatever on there, but that is on there. So anyway, that's really kind of it for this bag. Like I mentioned, there's a lot to like about it in terms of just good organization, small, compact, really nice design, good materials, good execution, and you know, very competent, I think, for like urban EDC, or you know, people who have like a load that's going to be appropriately sized for this. The lack of the quick access pocket, sometimes the snagging with the rain flap, and you know, those sort of things, and like the hub system are, well, the hub system's not a negative, but the, you know, maybe the rain flap and maybe the lack of a quick access pocket are maybe not the best things about this thing. And also just the fact that there are limits to the overall carrying capacity, because it is a smaller bag that doesn't deal with overloading well, or maybe, you know, things you might want to make sure that those aren't blockers for you. But overall, like you know, a very nice bag to consider if you're looking for like an urban EDC, you know, quote unquote pro bag. So if you're in the market for a bag like this, what are some bags that you might want to also consider? Well, first and foremost, we have my venerable and very old at this point Able Carry daily bag, or there's also a daily plus now too. Now this is what I think is kind of similar about this bag and the Metro Pro, is that they're both kind of like small, compact bags that, you know, feel small but carry a decent amount for their limits here. This one doesn't have as much internal organization. It only has like this main compartment, an internal laptop compartment, and then like just a front pocket with only like a key leash. What the Able Carry does do very well, I think, is it has a very nice back panel, and very, like, they have like their no sag patterning, webbing down here, whatever. Like this is a very comfortable bag. To this day, it's one of my favorite, like, small, compact EDC bags, urban EDC bags, that's very comfortable to wear. This one does have a quick access pocket at the top, which I thought is nice here. If you're looking for a pro bag, well, this is the Bellroy Transit Workpack Pro 22 liter. I just did a review of this a few weeks ago on the channel. Overall, this one goes in the opposite direction of svelteness of the Metro, with a very overbuilt, like very thick and robust storage load carriage system, a very large and very capacious main compartment, slightly less organization internally here, but they do have more organization in terms of like this front dump valley admin pocket thing. Available a variety of fabrics. Sorry, there's also an external laptop compartment on here. And external water bottle, or internal water bottle. This one, unfortunately, did have, at least my copy of it, had an issue with the key leash side-mounted pocket here, which Bellroy later contacted me and told me was likely a quality control issue, or something was wrong with the bag. Yep. Yeah, I believe that. Anyway, but overall, except for this part here, I think this is probably a bag worth checking out, especially if you're looking for a different take on the pro-oriented urban EDC bag. And finally, if you're kind of still looking at the Alpaka series, this is their Elements backpack here. This one has, this one is in the Aeroflux nylon here. This one is, I think, bigger. It's certainly taller than the Metro Pro. It has less internal organization. It's much more like vertically oriented. It's like a half zip style bag, and doesn't have as much organization overall, like no tablet pocket. Like the front organization is just basically this anemic pocket here. It has a lot of like rails for their hub system as well, but it might be worth checking out if you're looking for something slightly simpler, but this one has the advantage of dual external water bottle pockets, which is important for some folks here. So really, that's it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and if I can, I will answer them. And if you have any bags or other things you would like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will review them. Thank you very much.